Now, moving on to our next session, we have on the topic creating a culture of inclusion, best practices for implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So, for this session, I would like to invite Ms. Asha Subramanian, CHRO Subex. So, Ms. Asha Subramanian is a trusted senior HR professional with a proven track record of helping organizations as they transform and grow. So, she is passionate about promoting a people first, healthy, and creative work environment through trust building and open communication. Being a startup HR specialist who can help people's priorities, goals, and employs and external talent equally. She has also worked with companies on strategies such as high volume hiring, technology hiring, career ladders across the board, culture, employer branding, etc. So let's put our hands together and welcome Ms. Asha on the dais.
Hi, good morning. Okay, can we all raise up? 1 hour of talking, right? 1 hour of listening to everybody. This probably you can turn back also, stretch a bit. I'm just taking my 15 minutes of my time, 1 minute out of that, so that you get relaxed and sit back and you can listen to what I'm going to talk. Let's make it a little more interactive. Probably you can just put your hands up also. Stretch a bit. Yeah. You're feeling better? Please thank me later. It's pretty cold also actually. Okay. I have a video which probably I will not share it now because they've cut my time from 20 minutes to 13 to 14 minutes. So let me try to finish on the content what I wanted to speak today. Creating an inclusive culture, diversity and inclusion, right? So diversity, when you talk about, diversity is basically all about numbers. How many male, how many female in the organization, and how many other sex people are in the organization. Now, inclusion is where we make them to belong, right? So generally, there has been almost 10 years since we've been talking a lot about diversity and inclusion in India, 10 to 15 years. Why is that 15% of the organizations have been able to create a diversified and inclusive culture compared to another 80 or 75% of the organization are only standing on diversity? That is the numbers. They're able to achieve a 40% of women population and 60% of male population or any other sex population also. But why there is not a diversity and inclusive culture? So today, rather than getting into the same rant of telling how we can create a culture and other things, probably I would like to dwell upon what are the areas what we have to be in to make sure that there is a diversified and an inclusive culture. So with that, okay, great. So this is the video. I'll come back if in case I have some time, I'll show you this. Okay. So this is a very, very Gen Z kind of a slide where it's very, very easy for all of us to understand what's diversity. Diversity, as I told you initially, it's basically all about numbers. What is the kind of number, in the boardroom we talked today, right? You'll have to bring in 40% of women population. You have to bring 10% of the other gender population. 60% or 50% has to be male. So that is about the diversity, the number. What is the inclusion? How do you make people, everybody to belong, right? Today, probably anywhere, wherever you go, you want to be belonged. That is the thing, right? So I'll come to some case studies and other things. I hope this slide is clear. I'm not going to dwell too much about it. Okay. Now, what are the Deloittes and McKinseys and BCGs of the world talking like, why do you require a diversity? Why do you require inclusion? Yes, as our another friend, colleague who spoke from Tally, right? He spoke that like, there is going to be a huge productivity. There is going to be like, people are going to be very satisfied. There's going to be work-life balance. People are going to be happy to come to work if they are included, if there is diversity. Productivity will just shoot up, right? All those things. So these are the things what a different world has been talking about. Why is that there needs to be diversity and inclusion? So here is a slide which basically tells where are we having an issue, right? It's an onion. Now, when you peel an onion, the first thing is very easy. Making a policy for an HR person is the most easiest thing, right? Telling that, hey, listen, like, we are in the journey of diversity and inclusion. We are going to make sure everybody is equal. How can everybody be equal? It is not possible, right? Probably I can understand 10 maths question at a time and I can solve it within 5 minutes. Probably a colleague cannot do it. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm a woman, right? And I probably have a better mental power compared to a male who has a better physical power. So let's understand that like, we are not equal. Let's first, when we understand that we are not equal, then we can start executing things stage by stage. So the first thing is your mindset. It's extremely difficult when you have unconscious bias, right? So I'll also give you a very quick study what I did recently. Like, I was writing a paper and a 2-hour workshop for IIM Udaipur. So I put in about 10 recruiters and 10 hiring manager into a room and I asked them, what are your biases? Okay, like, when you take interview, what are your biases? And just go bonkers. Don't bother that Asha is looking at it or somebody else is looking at it. I want the real picture actually. So when I got out and like, I got about at least about 50 to 60 biases which were common. So one was like, my gut feeling. The HR, the recruiters, the hiring managers, the gut feeling what I feel that this person is not going to be like, a cultural fit, right? So that is the first. Second thing is, a lady came in a white pumps. She came in a red lipstick. A guy like, had lot of tattoos. He had a crazy hair. So these are all the unconscious biases. So when you talk, the policies are extremely easy, my friend. But when you come to the mindset, it can be leader or anybody. We've all come out like, we've grown with biases, right? We've grown. So somebody told, I'm a Marwadi. I'm a South Indian, I'm a North Indian, I'm fair, I'm dark, right? All this starts creating behind our mind. So the mindset is something which we all require to change today. It's not about the number. We've done with the number game in India, right? We have to look at like, how we can slowly, so what? Right? So what is something like, probably I started telling all of them. So somebody came out telling that literally to this level where they told, I don't like women with denims. I don't like women who wear like, her hair short or probably a red lipstick or a lot of makeup on her face. So lots and lots of biases. So that is something which we need to like, probably grow out of. Okay, let me come to the how to create a inclusive culture. So we all are doing, at least like, out of this, 80% of it has been like, done in our companies, right? So it can be your ERGs or like, inclusive environment where we do inclusive walks with people and like, make sure that everybody feels belong to the organization. We develop, implement, come out with new policies. We go like, we search and find out what are these new policies which are coming across the globe, right? Especially companies like ours where like, we have to be involved with other countries also. The inclusion becomes extremely difficult and different, right? Like, American would think rewards and recognition is not something which they are interested in. But in India, it is more very, very important. Or probably a personal detail which I take in India is not going to fly in an Australia or in a Canada. So it's very different from country to country, right? And you measure and you track regularly. You celebrate D&I. And you also sustain this effort by making a lot of changes, adapting to the new culture, new era, Gen Zs, all of this. This is a very quick slide, not more than 5 seconds. So we look at inclusive hiring, or develop empowering women and other sex in the workforce, workplace sensitization. Okay, this lot of cameras on. Yeah, workplace sensitizations and reward and pay. So there are a lot of hiring manager who actually get rewarded and also paid because they have a good mix of the diversity. So recently, we were in my office, we planned to go for the other genders. So I had, in fact, I have taken the permission to talk about that group. So I'm addressing it over here. There is a group which came in. They're called as fluid gender. So it's a male. One day they feel like a male, another day they feel like a female. Okay, so one day they come in their usual suit or whatever it is. Another day they have a nose pin, they have a sari, they're totally different, right? So now bringing this is the most easiest work for me to do, right? You go to an agency, you tell we are looking at different genders, we want people in. How do you make them inclusive? How do you feel, the day they are male, they will use the male restroom. The day they are female, they'll go to the female restroom. Now, when they go to the female restroom, the females feel little offensive about it. And when they go to the male restroom, the guys make fun of them. What are you doing for the inclusion? Right? So yeah, the final answer is we made a unisex washroom and other things, right? So these are the kind of issues what you come in. So making it is very easy policy-wise, what I was talking, right? How do you execute it? How do you make them feel that they're one among us, right? Okay. So these are few things what we are doing at Subex. So we do maternity mentorships, so that women don't miss out on their promotions or probably on their rewards or other things, right? And I love the second one. This is one of my very favorite thing, hiring of women on a career break, whoever are on a career break, right? And we do Daughters of Subex, where employees, daughters, whoever are there. We've slowly extended to this other genders also, in 9th, 10th and 11th, if they have got the best marks, we call them and we counsel them, we mentor them, and we give them a cash prize and certificates and other things. And Subexian series, not the male, this one, the other genders, if in case they're a biker or if they are anything special, right, which is little out of thing, we celebrate those people. And we do women R&Rs, we do, and women specific town halls and lot many other things. This is something which we will need to be extremely, this is all in net. So we'll need to be little more sensitive towards how we pronounce people. Today, it is just not male and female, right? And I recognize maybe myself as a male, or a lady who comes and recognizes herself as them there, right? So these are something which we will need to be little sensitive. This is a very, very big part of inclusion. It's very vocal, very, what do you call, superficial, but still, when I call somebody, if somebody calls me Nisha rather than calling me Asha, right, the person loses it, right? So this is something which we'll need to be a little more careful. Okay, this is something which I wanted to dwell a little bit more. Why is that 80% of organizations which are thinking that we are all very high on diversity and inclusion, but why is that there is an issue? Why are they not able to achieve, right? So one is the unconscious bias. So what I, starting when I told, right? It is surely a journey and it's never a destination. Diversity, and okay, we finished 30%, we've done and dusted, right? For the year. AOP, we had committed that we will do 35%, we're done. No, not at all. There's a lot of unconscious biases about dress, about caste, about the way how you look, about different regions, right? Or somebody is, it's not only about the other genders when I tell, right? It need not have to be only LGBTQ. It can be probably somebody who's not as capable mentally as what I am, or physically as capable as what I am. So there's a lot of unconscious bias. Somebody comes from maternity, immediately the manager, because I've been there and been there in the other side where managers come and tell, hey, listen, yaar, how can I have this person? She's just come back from maternity. So there is an unconscious bias. When you cut a cake, right? What generally in offices, somebody's birthday, it's a small party, right? Okay, she will cut the cake and give it out, right? It can be because it's not that we are telling, we are blaming ourselves. Let's not be harsh on ourselves. It's a patriarchal mindset what we have come, always, right? Always I've always told, okay, my dad tells that's the final word. I wouldn't listen to anybody. So the patriarchal mindset is still there. It's slowly changing, right? That's why it's a journey, it's not a destination. So the unconscious bias is extremely with all of us. So what I'm doing these days is, because I take a lot of interviews and I don't want to be a part of this unconscious bias. So I have written down about 20 of my unconscious biases, right? I probably don't like somebody, I'm just giving an example. So I don't like somebody who doesn't speak good language, or who is not a street smart, or a guy I like somebody who is with beard, or I like a woman who's tall, who's slim, or who maintains herself. So these are all my unconscious biases. And all of us have it. Probably I'm just talking it out over here, but everybody has it. So take a paper, and if you are an HR, if you are in hiring, or if you are in a hiring manager, right? Please don't make the unconscious bias to be a showstopper to hire somebody who is probably talented and skilled and is actually good for that job. Right? So that's about and microaggressions, right? There's a lot of microaggression. Yeah, you somehow you manage yourself, you're old but you really look very young, right? I work for it to look good. Right? I mean, I'm just not telling about myself, I'm just telling about general, right? Oh, okay, this is so there are memes and reels which are going on in Instagram where they tell that there is a young Gen Z kid walking in the office, and there's a man who's sitting without hair and, hello Dadaji, right? These are all your, without knowing, these are microaggressions, right? Oh, she's a woman, why are you putting her in IT? Oh, he's a guy, why are you putting him in engagement? Right? These are all our unknown microaggressions which we are bringing to the table. So the belongingness, right? We all need this belongingness. Wherever we are, we need to belong. That's the most important thing. You go anywhere, you want to be belonged in that group. So that is not happening in a lot of companies, a lot of places, right? And the gender, obviously. You are an IT, how can a woman come into IT, or a CTO, how can a woman become a CTO? So there are a lot of things what come into this, right? And generation gap. As I told you, the meme or the reel, what we see, lot of, oh, this guy is a furniture, literally, in the organization. He's been there since 10 years, 20 years, right? Literally, we're all talking in this way, but we don't know that we are doing it. Right? And inclusive leadership. If it's not top down, my friend, it's just not going to happen. If my manager, my CEO is not for diversity and inclusion, absolutely it's a failure. It's better you scrap it and move on to other initiatives. It has to be top down. It can't be from a junior to the senior, this one. And historical inequalities, as I told you, the patriarchal thing what we have, right? And lack of communication, as a sir told, how communication is extremely important in an organization. You bring in all the different diversities, but I don't do training, I don't communicate to people that this is a way to handle these people. How will they manage it, right? So a communication, clarity of communication. Diversity without inclusion is absolutely farce, right? So you'll have to have inclusion. Without inclusion, it's okay even if you have 1%, 2%, but make sure that you have that inclusion in the mind. That's about it. Thanks a lot. I wanted to finish it really fast. Any questions? I can take 1 or 2 questions before the next bell rings. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah. So, well, we were literally a starter of diversity. We've just started. We are taking our baby steps. So we kind of started with women for R&R for women, and after that we also shifted to the different genders. So there isn't anything specific as such, but making sure that if somebody is getting neglected in the group, they're also included. It was one of the inclusion and diversity activity. We've also brought in other genders to this now, in fact. Yeah. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. We built a whole lot of training on LGBTQ, how you need to, the pronouns and other things, what I was talking, about how to address them and what is the kind of overall scenario around it. It's a new topic to all of us, right? Somebody sits next to you and they are LGBTQ, you surely have your interest, right? It is not about arrogant or anything. You're basically curious. Human mind is always curious, right? So to make sure you quench the curiosity, we've got a policy, we've got a nice writer, people have to go and kind of educate themselves about it before they start communicating. And more than everything, the leaders have to be actually educated about this. So we've got a whole lot of a program about it. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Ms. Asha Subramanian. I would like to call upon Mr. Rohan Sabnis for doing the felicitation for Ms. Asha.